Hello, this is Perri Mink, and it is Sunday, April 14th, 2019, and I'm giving an update about my Contra Costa County Housing Authority recertification inspection, and that I have not received any word yet from them. However, I have heard from my VA VASH housing case manager on Friday from a text, and I posted on Facebook because it's just disturbing. And she writes, "Hi, Ms. Mink, did your place pass the reinspection last week?" Well, they've never asked me before. That's something that they communicate between themselves, the VA VASH and the Contra Costa County Housing Authority and the landlord. On Monday, that message was on Friday the 12th, you could see. And on Monday, April 8th, my landlord had pulled up to the unit here, and I happened to be outside, and he asked me whether I passed the reinspection or not. And he also asked me if they told me on the day of the inspection, and they've never told me on the day of the inspection, and he would know that. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what are the women in the government doing to protect me, because they hadn't been protecting me. They destroyed me. The women in the legal system destroyed me. Why did they destroy me? I'm wondering where I'm going to be going, which should be my sanctuary home in Concord at Town and Country Mobile Home Park. That's where my home is. I paid cash for my mobile home. I earned the cash from completing home improvements to my condominium that I did by myself. And for some reason, the women in the government do not care about females. They are saying one thing in public, yet they are doing something very horrific to females in the community. And these are the women that are in politics right here in the city councils, the city council members. I talked about this in my previous videos. These are the women in the legal system, the ones right there in the courthouse, the ones that are judges, the ones that are the supervisors. They're not protecting females, and they didn't protect me. I worked day and night to do the things that I enjoy in life and have meaning to me. They make so much money, they buy things as if you just toss it in the garbage, or to them it's very special and they just protect themselves or their clique. But people who depend on them in the community, who go there to seek justice, are ruined. It wasn't just me. So I'm wondering still, I have no idea. I'm doing the things that I enjoy doing, which is gardening. I have my little micro mini garden out on the back steps, railings. And as a matter of fact, yesterday I was urgently had to drain out the plant pot that I had planted some seeds in because it wasn't draining properly, and I guess I forgot to open up the drain holes. And I had to do that during the daytime, which I normally don't do because, well, it was hot yesterday. And the other reason is because the neighbor comes out, the one in the back. And sure enough, she did. And I just want to stay neutral and be diplomatic. And of course, she's offering me plants and wanting to talk. And this is the type of person that would go along and has gone along with these okay, I just noticed that my camera was stopped and it was sitting there for some time. So I'm going to step back a little bit because I think I was already talking for a little bit. But the neighbor came out when I was working in the garden, my little micro mini garden, and as before, she keeps wanting to give things that you may not necessarily want because you have your own space and you only have so much space, and for her it's more of attention and more about feeling for herself that self reassurance because she has a lower self-esteem or she doesn't have boundaries for whatever reasons. Well, anyway, I she gave me some succulents, and I told her that I was going to a swap to exchange for some things that I could put in the hanging baskets. And then this morning I went to transplant it, and I found out that there were 3 plants actually in the one pot. Tiny, it was a tiny pot. And so I put that over the fence early this morning because it's best to do any repotting early in the morning and when the sun, when it's not hot and sunny. So that's hanging over the fence now with a note because I sometimes you have to, with a person like that, you have to be diplomatic and receive it graciously, but then because they won't listen to what you're saying, because I told her, I could give her the pot back because it's a nice pot. It's a small ceramic pot. And so, um, that kind of person won't receive that. The interaction isn't to interact. It's so that that person could feel their own self. So I put that over the fence and it's still there. But I'm not going to, pursue anything. She's the one that came towards me to communicate. And I know that the neighbors are still involved with this scheme to alienate me, but then to set me up and then pretend like they were respectful and all this sort of thing. And I just don't have the energy for it because I'm working towards creating justice for myself and for Elvira and the other Encina victims. And if there's somebody through the legal system that has been ruined, and my patch articles was enough evidence for them to launch an investigation for some of the cases here in Contra Costa County or up at Napa State Hospital, then that would be great. So I wanted to talk about why would the women in the legal system be so hateful and so demonic, so secretly demonically sexualizing females, unsuspecting females who need court services, because as I mentioned before, they're doing this to women in the family court, and they've been doing this to seniors. I've seen that. And part of it is because I guess they are into stealing people's money, stealing taxpayers' money, allowing criminals in professions to rip people off. So, and then also that I'm Christian, and that was something that they were mocking me. Presiding Judge Marianne O'Malley was already mocking me up front about me being Christian. And that was indicated in the letter that she wrote to me, claiming that they weren't mocking me, but even she was mocking me. And why in the news would they say they're protecting females, and then the Board of Supervisors, who also closed the doors on me, which is called deprivation of civil rights, that's the legal term, why would they keep denying me my rights? Yet in the news, they pretend like they're protecting females in the government. And that was in my patch article, the part 5, despotic legal system commits cruelty to the core of humanity. And I could post that down in the comments. But why would they be doing this? Well, they're living a double life. And if you've seen my post on Facebook, they're living a double life, and they're using taxpayers' money to live out their fantasies and to live out their sex fantasies and to live out their, taking out their aggressions on unsuspecting people in a very sadomasochistic manner, very sociopathic manner. They're pathological liars. Why would they allow these women in the government? So a couple things that I wanted to talk about was because they attacked my sex life for my whole life, ever since I was born, which has nothing to do with my civil case. I wanted to mention about in the community, I've worked with other women that have not protected my rights either and have destroyed me. So why would these women claim to be for women's rights but destroy a female that they know has been working for them, doing a very good job in the workplace, which really represents them? The person in charge, the boss, the supervisor, the manager, they're the one that's the role model. So the people that are under them are the ones that would be a good representation for them in the workplace. So if outside people see, wow, look at their employee or their independent contractor, wow, they're doing great, and so they would give compliments about me, and that's what they did in the jobs that I had. But for some reason, these women turn their backs on somebody who would be protecting them. So two of them are both Catholic. That was my boss at the Rossmore News, and the other one was my boss at the Contra Costa Times. So now I'm going to speak about some women that were not related to those two, but were in charge. And that was the wife of a woman that was operating the San Francisco Chronicle route that I had in Lafayette, and another woman who is the wife of the owner of the company where I was the accounts receivable and collections manager. And neither one of those protected me, and even one of them set me up. So why would these women be doing this? Okay, so I want to go back to, because these people are claiming to be Christian, both of those latter two claim to be Christians from one non-denominational, and I don't know which Christian denomination the other couple claim to be Christians, and which is a sad thing. So, but what I'm focusing on is the sex aspect, because it has something to do with these women getting jealous or something, jealous of another female, but it really has to do with the husband and wife having a dysfunctional marriage, an untrusting marriage. Rather than turning to the Bible and praying together within that family to be a strong family unit, the family is dysfunctional because they're not praying, they're not practicing real Christianity, and then they're not doing what they should be doing outside. They're doing the opposite. So I wanted to read this one from 1 Corinthians, and it has to do with a husband and wife. And it has to do with that the husband and the wife are not to seek outside relationships, sexual relationships, outside their home. And well, how do you deal with the sex addiction that could be going on within the family, right? Because it could be the wife could be a nymphomaniac, or the husband could be a sex addict too. So in 1 Corinthians, and let's see, 1 Corinthians, where did I put that? Hold on, let me look at let's see. It's 1 Corinthians 7:5. So 1 Corinthians 7:5. And it says, defraud ye not one the other, except it be with consent for a time, that ye may give yourselves to fasting and prayer, and come together again, that Satan tempt you not for your incontinency. And this is from my King James Bible. And let's see if I could read that in another one, in my New King James. And the reason that I'm reading these, because they're not fasting and praying. And this also happened at one of the reasons why I'm not a member or don't go regularly to a church is because they're not exercising this scripture either, which is part of Christian behavior. So if I go to 7:5 in 1 Corinthians, and this one is in the New King James. Do not deprive one another except with consent for a time, that you may give yourselves to fasting and prayer, and come together again, so that Satan does not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. Okay, so I looked up incontinency, and that also means like your failure to control your sex desires. Okay, so it could include depravity, I suppose. And so apparently these Christian families too aren't exercising this scripture, because when I was working for the I can't remember what they call them, but they own the aspect of the newspaper delivery system, and then they in the Chronicle at that time, I think we were employees. I can't remember right now. I have to look at my tax forms, but my income tax forms. But the husband and wife claimed to be Christian, but for some reason, this wife took her aggressions out on me along with the woman assistant. And my car was in the shop, and every once in a while they would lend out their vehicles to help the carriers, because you know the route best and it would be done quickly, just like as if you had your own vehicle. So one day they were getting me they got the paper. My route was like 300 and anywhere from 325 to 340 or something like that, in a really difficult route in Lafayette, really hilly and narrow roads and really dense woods. And so one day they packed the van, which was the husband and one of their vehicles, the husband and wife's vehicle, and they didn't bag the it was a Sunday paper, and instead they just stacked them at the back of the seat that was folded down or something. And so as I drove around, because it's really windy and up, hilly and sharp turns, the newspapers just went sliding all over the back of the van. They knew better. That it was a setup. They knew that they were supposed to bag those papers, yet they didn't. These were two women. We're talking two women. Well, why would the wife do that? Apparently, this wife must have been having a bad relationship with the husband, and must have wanted to attack me and lash out at me, because maybe the husband appreciated that I took that route, which is a very difficult route. And I'm sure the turnover could have been, you want to keep the person there as long as you can, because it's difficult to train somebody on a route like that. It's a lot of wear and tear on your vehicle, and they want responsible people. So after that, I got fired. Now, why would I get fired if the wife and the assistant female, the woman, set me up? Okay, well, there's just another evidence, of a facts where the women are going after a female. It's absurd, because she's having a bad relationship with her husband or something, because either he's a sex addict or she is, you know. Also, the other carriers there, the men, because they were mostly men, uh, I asked them, do you say thank you for what they provide for you? And they said, never. Yet I was the one saying thank you, and the wife saying, I never say thank you. I mean, this is how absurd these women are. Okay, so now the other situation where I was the accounts receivable and collections manager, my boss, who was like 49%, or the husband and wife was half owner, but the prominent owner, and the other owner, the partner, was like the secondary owner, but it was like almost even in ownership, but by 1% or something. And the my boss, who was the second partner, the husband and wife, I'll call the first partner, wanted me to sign a lien or a letter to claim that the lien notice was started, because you start a lien notice ahead of time, and that guarantees you, if the contractor who bought the supplies from that business, because they were like a home building metal company, if the contractor couldn't pay it, then the lien was activated to proceed with collecting based on if you could lien their property and so forth. Well, I wasn't even working there, and the previous accounts receivable collections manager forgot to start that for this one particular contractor. And so he owed like $35,000 or something, and I couldn't start that lien because nobody had instigated it accordingly, right? Because it's a legitimate document previously when I wasn't even there. So instead, the partner wanted me to sign this letter with my signature on it. He put my name, dated it a different date, and wanted me to sign it, claiming that it was a legitimate document from a time where I wasn't even working there. I said, no way, I'm not signing it. I got fired, but before that time, I could sense that he was trying to fire me. So the wife of the first partner was included in our meeting where I'm trying to defend myself, okay? And she wouldn't do one thing. And I was fired. Okay, these are Christian people. They claim to be Christian. That's not being Christian. Knowing that you're involving yourself with trying to get an innocent person to involve in a fraud scheme, that is not Christian. Okay, so there was that case. Now, back to about the Christian church, because I said that I don't become a member. I had went to a church in Concord, far out on the borderline of the next city over, and I would go there periodically, not a regular, um, attendee, just every other week, maybe for a time, and then stop and that sort of thing. Go maybe go to another church, and because it takes time to learn what the doctrine is of that church and what their message is and what their focus is. But I was going to their singles group. And so when you go, the person in charge, who was a husband and wife, introduces themselves, and they explain to you a little bit about what their program is. So the husband approached me and let me know what their singles group was about, and then I just went home and went on with my daily chores and whatnot. So then I invited a woman that I was participating in home church, and we were doing study Bible and fellowshipping, and I invited her to the church. There's a singles program over there. Would you like to go? And she said yes. So we went. Okay, here we go again. So she met with the husband, who was, I guess he was the one that was like the hospitality greeter. And she said that when she got home, he called and thanked her and was very considerate, um, in in welcoming her to the singles program at that church. And I said, I was shocked. I said, they never contacted me. And she says, she wondered about that. And I just thought that, how weird is that? Because then it clicked, because when I was at the singles program, as the gentleman, the husband was speaking with me, the wife comes over and interrupts us, doesn't introduce herself to me and say, welcome to the singles program. Nothing like that. I could tell that there was some kind of tension. And I remember saying to this woman that I was doing the home church with, I said, if they have marital problems, they need to keep that to themselves. So obviously there's a problem even in the Christian churches that they're not practicing this scripture. And I suppose that that's what's going on in the legal system, because the people in the legal system are claiming to be Christian too, like Mark Peterson. He is not a Christian. My landlord here claims to be a Christian. He's not a Christian. So that's an issue that is causing problems, and apparently they're contaminated and they've been infected by this secret demonic sexualizing plague, and here I am still waiting for my sanctuary home. And the women are claiming to be these powerful women in power positions, managers, supervisors, owners, judges, district attorneys, council members, mayors, vice mayors, supervisors. And what are they doing? They are not protecting females' rights. That's what it means to be effective in your community, is you protect females. That's why years ago, men gave women a chance so that they could deal with issues with females. So now, speaking about issues with females, notice how they spent all their time, taxpayers' money, going into my sex life. Yet and blaming me for male sex addiction, blaming me because a man can't control his urges. Not one of the men that I met through my lifetime believe in marriage. None of them talked about marriage. None of them expressed to me in an action manner what it means to be a marriage minded. None of them were studying to become a husband, if you will. It's not something that you just become overnight and you call yourself a husband or call yourself a wife. You have to practice that, the knowledge of being a successful husband or wife, and that comes before you become a husband or wife. So if you look at the men, they were the ones seeking sex. Now, blaming me for the sex revolution, or that in society many people believe that you have sex before marriage because they're not encouraging abstinence before marriage, and the government is participating in this promiscuous lifestyle. They themselves, down there at the courthouse, are practicing promiscuity. But all of a sudden in the news are saying, we're getting married. Well, how many times do you think presiding judge Marianne O'Malley went out with some guy in the workplace and had sex, and then finally found a man that she could manipulate into marriage? Because that's really the bottom line. If you look at the relationships today, the women have been manipulating the men to get married, and I don't do that. I don't participate in that. So they're getting pregnant, and then they get together. The man thinks, oh, okay, I'll be responsible now. Oh, but they couldn't be responsible for taking care of and protecting their girlfriend. Oh, I'm a Christian, but I won't protect my girlfriend. But that's what the Bible talks about. You meet somebody and there's a potential for marriage, you protect that person. That's your partner in life, your forever person. You don't start slandering them and using them up and lying about them and playing games and pretending you don't know how to get to know somebody and forcing and all this other stuff, and then call yourself a Christian. That's not how it works, okay? But for some reason, these women in the government, they completely ruining females' lives. It wasn't just me, like I say, I saw it at the small claims court, the discrimination, and so that's something that they were doing on a regular basis. Now, I talked about the Catholics, and I've known Catholics, they think they're perfect and virgins. I've met Catholics that are married, 3 times, divorced 2 times or divorced 3 times and married again. Okay, so that's what you decided to do. So why are you taking out your aggressions on another female? Is this something because you're embarrassed about your own self? And so you can't control yourself from lashing out at other people. And so that's what you do in the workplace too. I mean, this is the kind of thing that women are doing. And it's really a shame that you don't go after another female. You communicate with your partner. If your partner and you are dysfunctional, then you have to separate. And they call it irreconcilable differences, or, if you're married or whatever. But when you're talking about hearing cases in the court system, and you're a mayor and you're a supervisor on the board, and you're a regulatory officer in the government agencies, and you're going to attack females who've been ripped off by doctors, and then you think you're protecting females, that's not protecting females. You're ruining females. Then you're teaching people to do this aggressive, take out your aggressions on people, unsuspecting people, lie, rip people off, steal, so you can live it up, so you can live a double life. I'm a taxpayer. I'm not paying taxes so you can live your life of greed and selfishness and self-absorbency and filling up your ego, trying to make people like you and all this other stuff, going shopping and traveling and buying second homes and eating for 3 to 5 people or whatever it is you're doing, your fantasy, your sex fantasies, your multiple sex partners or whatever. That's not what taxpayers want to pay for, okay? So I am still waiting to hear from the legal system because it's in the instant. I posted in my patch articles the case with the Rampart. It was in the instant. The man DA came forward for a man that was harmed by a government official, and he came forward immediately to the public in a news conference, and justice was served. I have not seen justice served. Not one woman from the government has come forward in a news conference on my behalf so justice could be served. Not one. So I'm waiting. I'm still waiting. Now, in other parts of the country, there have been women who have been ripped off by men. And I posted about that on my Facebook. It was a case where a man from this area, I posted it on Facebook, and he was pretending to be a U.S. Navy captain, a war hero, a doctor, a successful businessman. He was on a singles website, and he would select these women that were working women, successful working women, white women, and he would meet up with them, and he'd put on a big show, even wearing uniforms and had identifications and But what he was doing was he was stealing from one woman and then using that money on another woman. And it was to fulfill his ego. It was to live this fantasy lifestyle. And men in the legal system protected those females. These are heterosexual females, and they were protected by men in the legal system. I'm still waiting. Not one woman in the legal system is protecting me. Not when I still don't have my sanctuary home. Still, it is Sunday, April 14th, 2019, about 1:30 in the afternoon. I'm getting messages and weird comments, ridiculous comments, absurd comments from my landlord and the VA asking me if I've passed the reinspection. This is absurd. Okay, I should have a letter in the mail right now. That I should be seeing a news conference on YouTube or through these other news agencies, ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, CNN, Fox. I should be seeing that there's a news conference. We have a case, Mink versus Encina Veterinary Clinic Incorporated et al. This case was a obstruction of justice. They destroyed the witness, Perri Mink, and they took her into custody illegally. Her home is in Concord, in a mobile home park, and we've got in custody the Judge Barbara Zuniga, DA Mark Peterson, Sheriff Deputy David Livingston, and these people, and we've got them in custody now, and we've all we've corrected the record. This is a very disturbing case. It's just so cruel and inhumane what happened to this litigant, and we are correcting this at the moment. We will answer your questions after we give this additional information, and then we should be hearing that on the news right now. But I haven't heard a thing. Not one thing. Not a letter. I haven't got one letter, not an email, nothing. And my State Farm insurance agent, she should be indicted and convicted too. She allowed these people that attorney Jane Elliott got, and they transferred my Ford Falcon into their name. That was completely illegal. They took my truck that I paid for with my own money, and that truck is mine. And the insurance company allowed them to switch insurance companies. That was totally illegal. And not only that, afterwards, they played games with me with email communications with the State Farm agent assistant. And this is what I'm dealing with. And this is sick. And I know that they're still playing games with these neighbors. And I demand, and everyone else needs to demand too, that this vet practice is using people's pets for their own benefit. They are running an illegal dog lab, torturing our beloved pets, my Elvira. And the ARF, Animal Rescue Foundation, Tony LaRusse's Animal Rescue Foundation, I went there with Winnie the other Friday. Excuse me. And the doctor that was on the mobile clinic there at the VA was lying to me. She's telling me that the lump on his leg, on the inside of his leg, is easy to remove. And she's telling me it cost $100 for the first exam, and I could go through their emergency medical fund. Then she's telling me it would cost $500 for all this stuff that he has. He has like 4 lumps, and his 2 teeth. I said he had 2 loose teeth, and she puts down several. Then I get a call from them saying that it's $30 for the exam, and then I could pay in payments. I have an appointment for April 26th, but I switched the veterinarian because Winnie didn't even want to respond appropriate to her because she's scary, and it was a very uncomfortable interaction with that veterinarian that they have through this program, this Tony LaRusso's Animal Rescue Foundation mobile vet clinic for veterans. And that's how they're operating. They're still doing this to me on the bus. You know, I mean, this has got to stop. This is totally illegal what they're doing. They're obliterating people like myself because they're trying to protect doctors, and veterinarians fall under the doctors, right? They fall under the same laws as the doctors in the Business and Professions Code. And these people are doing these illegally to our pets. They're racking up a huge vet bill for no reason at all, withholding information, and we have to figure it out on our own. That's not medical care. That's not legal. So I'm fighting civilly. I've been civil this whole time. Even when they took me into custody, I was civil. Even when I was forced into I call it the dungeon, into the jail, they call it the Jilton, after the Hilton. That's not, no, it is not the Hilton. And I was civil there too. I was civil when they forced me to Napa State Hospital. I did everything I could to stop them from sending me to Napa. And they were going to keep me there for indefinitely for no reason at all but to shut me up, to hopefully to kill me off. And that's why Jane Elliott called it a death sentence. No, that's illegal. They're practicing something very wicked, very corrupt, something based on this, what I talked about in the Bible before, that's similar to what was going on during the days back in Jesus. But they want to lie about it. And what happened is they turned the churches, modern day churches, into what was going on at the synagogue during Jesus' time. Because if you notice, when you go to the Catholic churches, it's not about practicing Christianity in the Jesus way. You're going there on Sunday so you could give out your business cards to generate business. You know, that's what they're doing. And they do that at these other churches too. And I don't want anything to do with it. That's not the purpose of the church. So I am asking that people keep demanding that justice be served, that it's supposed to be in the instant. I provided the evidence. I proved it on my own, and the evidence is out there. It's posted on Facebook. It's in my patch articles. I continued my patch article 5 on my website with Wix, and you can get that last part 5 on the Wix, on my Wix website. And I can go ahead and post that down in the comment too. So thank you very much for listening. And as you can see, Winnie's in the background. He's been sleeping the whole time. It's a very nice, beautiful day today. And I will keep you posted. And I need to be back in my sanctuary home. They had denied me and still deny me attorney representation. But this case should be dealt with in a civil manner, and in a justice. The settlements need to be dealt with through the government, because they're the ones that caused it. They perpetrated this horrific, malicious, cruel, and inhumane, malicious prosecution on me, which is I'm not even the criminal, and destroyed my life, tortured me, terrorized me, and destroyed my life because they're sex addicts. These Catholics that are turning into atheists, they are very dangerous people, and they are part of this cruel Catholic MO that I've talked about. That's the term I use, and that's what I've termed it in my patch articles and on my Facebook, if you're following me on Facebook. All right, thank you very much for listening. And this video is about 44 minutes long, and signing off for now. All right, thank you.